Hey, what's up? It's Stephen Williams, founder and president of the creditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, what we're going to talk about, we're going to get straight to it. We're going to talk about credit repair and debt collectors. And I'm going to talk to you about a student loan client. Well, not this wasn't even a client. This is someone that watched a video that I had on YouTube about how to deal with student loans. They followed it step by step, and I'm going to tell you about the outcome on that. And then we're going to talk about the mindset of the day advice, the way that you need to go out through your day with your mindset. And we're going to talk about in today's money making idea is real estate. I've done real estate. I do not like doing real estate now. It's not because it's not any good. It's just because my what I like doing now is more with online based type businesses. So now, so we're going to talk about first with credit repair. It's very important, especially in today's world, that you got to have your credit in the right situation, because if you don't, it's going to stop you from moving forward in your life. I invested in a new company that's going to be opening up in the healthcare industry, and when we sent in for our certifications, we had to put the administrator and sub-administrator of the office that's going to be working in the office. They had to go through a background check, and part of that background check was where they looked to see if they had any judgments or collections. And I was like, this is incredible. This person is just going to be working there. But the state that I live in, and it might be the same in your state, they do not allow staff members that are going to be in those positions to have issues on their credit. They can't have any collections. They can't have any judgments. That's, I don't agree with that, but that's the rules, and they're making it that way. So that means that whenever you start seeing those types of things happen with credit, with people's credit reports, when they're going for jobs, that stuff starts rolling downhill, and more companies start utilizing credit reports and information on the public records data to stop someone from either getting a job or from moving up in a position. And we saw this a lot years ago, and now I'm seeing it more and more. And in dealing with, and that goes into dealing with debt collectors. If you find yourself in a situation where you have to deal with a debt, like you got something in the debt collection letter in the mail, you need to be prepared to validate that debt. You don't have to automatically pay them, but you have to be prepared to validate that debt to make sure that you have a legal obligation to pay it. A lot of people just don't do that. They just disregard the letter, and it allows them to move forward with going after you and putting stuff on your credit reports. And then the next thing is they're going to do a summons, and then the next thing, if you don't show up for the summons, they're going to get a default judgment, and then everything just starts to look bad for you in that situation. You need to, no matter what, if you get a debt collection letter, always submit a validation to make sure that they have number one, a legal right to come after you for the debt. Make sure that it's not past statute of limitations. Just make sure that everything is legal with the charges from the original creditor. And then if everything checks off, then you need to go into a settlement phase so it doesn't go forward and hurt you on your credit reports or get into a judgment situation. You just don't want that to happen. Now, let's talk about the student loan. A lot of people that watch my videos, a lot of people that are clients, I see thousands of dollars worth of student loan debt on their credit reports. A lot of it is legitimate, so they're going to have to deal with it. But I've seen thousands of dollars that was not legitimate because they were with these pop-up online colleges, or these pop-up storefront colleges like Everest and some of those, where they were just trying to bring people in, promising them that they're going to be able to get a better job or something after going through their so-called training. Those schools got shut down, they closed up, and people were stuck with the loans. I had a person that watched a video on YouTube, just like you're watching right now, and he watched it and he followed step by step. And let me tell you what I told him to do. The first thing I said is you need to see if they are on the list of fraudulent schools, the closed down schools. Because if they are, then there's a remedy that the Department of Education is giving to people that fell into that category with these so-called online colleges or storefront colleges. And that if they are on that list, then all you have to do is you have to submit information to the debt collector that's coming after you for it and say that I was defrauded by this school and I do not think that I should have to pay this debt. And then you need to supply the information about your particular college to that debt collector. Now, when we've done it for our clients, they've usually just say, we're just not going to come after the money anymore. We're going to cease collection on this debt, because they just know that if you ended up going into court and you show that paperwork that this was one of the fraudulent schools, that they're going to just lose, and they could lose even more money. But for the person that I'm talking about in this testimonial that followed my video and did exactly what I just told you to do, they actually were making payments, and they came across my video and they said that they knew that their school was in that they wanted to look to see if their school was in that list. They found out that their school was in that list. They knew that they had shut down, but they had continued making payments on that debt. And they watched the video, and I said that if your student loan debt is with one of these closed down schools, and there's a list of them, there's thousands. I think there was over 25,000 schools. So your school, if you have one of these loans for one of these schools, I'm pretty sure that they're either included in there as a shutdown school or included in there as doing the fraudulent student loans. But he followed everything, submitted. They said that they're going to stop going after him for the money, but even better than that, they're going to give him the payments back that he made for 1 year, which was about $2,500. So they stopped the collection. Everything's going to be coming off the reports. No more student loan debt, and they're going to give $2,500 back in the payments that he had already made. So that's just that's what can happen if you just follow step by step what I'm telling you to do when it comes to student loans. And if you find that your student loan is legitimate, there still are some remedies that you can try to do to lower that debt or to try to make that debt go away. And all you have to do is go to the Department of Education and look for student loan forgiveness. Now, the programs may not be as available as they used to be in the past, but you never know. The person that goes after it and makes the noise is the one that's going to end up having the solutions come. Now, let's move over to the mindset of the day. I tell people to do this, and I don't just say it just to say it. I do this every morning. When you wake up and you get out of bed, you got to put your mind going in the right direction. You have to be very careful not to think in a negative way. You have to be very careful. If you were thinking negative or something bad happened to you the previous day, don't let that carry over to start thinking about that when you wake up in the morning. You have to just put that aside. Some of the things that my wife and I do, we'll go to bed, we'll put on hypnosis audio where it's just repeating over and over again that you're successful, that you're healthy, that you're wealthy, and everything in hypnosis you need to always, it has to be like you are already. It can't be things that you're going to, because your subconscious mind does not know the difference. So, and it does not it doesn't think the way that you might think, where it'll think like I'm going to be. You need to just say I am. because your subconscious mind is all about where you are right now. Your conscious mind could be thinking, I'm going to do this to get to this level here, but that's a conscious thought. Subconscious mind doesn't know anything about the future or the past. It only knows about the now, and it only repeats the past. So you got to get yourself into a positive mode every morning. Simple way to do it is to, if soon as you wake up, start thinking about how you want your day to be, rather than thinking about, oh, I'm just getting set to just start over this whole process or my whole day that I don't like doing. You just got to get out of that mode. Now let's move into today's money making idea or money making tip. And we're going to talk about real estate. Real estate, I've done a lot of real estate deals, and there was a time where my wife and I were buying houses, fixing them up and selling them. We did very well. My first real estate deal that I ever did was in 1994, and that was a disaster. I had bought a duplex in a fairly bad neighborhood, and it didn't work out good. I was actually doing a lot of the repair work. I had rented it out to both of them. I remember the young lady and her kid. They was always stopping up the toilet, so I would have to come up here, and I didn't even live in the city that I had the property in, so it was a long trip up to get that fixed, and it was just a disaster. I wasn't ready to do real estate then, but later in the years, I did very well with real estate. But let me tell you a funny story of something that really happened with that property, the one that went bad in 94, is I wanted to rent out the downstairs. The daughter and the young lady and the daughter lived upstairs, and I'm not 100% sure she had a daughter, but had a kid with her. But they lived upstairs, and I was going to rent out the downstairs. And I remember this guy came, and he wanted to rent it from me. And so I was meeting him there, and the lady that was upstairs, she was coming home, I guess, from the store or something. And all of a sudden, when she walked by us, she turned around and grabbed her kid and ran off screaming. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I told the guy, well, let's look in here. I don't know what's going on, that she lives upstairs. So that already was making him like, well, what's going on with her? And then after I showed it to him, and then he left, and I had later called her because she didn't come back before we had finished. I said, what was going on? And she said that guy had robbed me a while back. And I was like, this is just crazy. I don't even, it was like dealing with that property. There was so many things that was going wrong with that property, that where I just wasn't really in the right mindset at that time. I later in life, I've put it together that my mind was not right to own that property. It was nothing wrong with the property, nothing wrong with being in real estate. It was that my mindset was not right at that time. But that's a true story she told me, and then I did not rent it to them. And then later I ended up selling the property actually on a land contract to an individual, just so I was able to get out of the property and not worry about anything. It was a fairly cheap property, though, fairly cheap. So it wasn't one of those situations where I lost a lot of money, but I did lose money. Later with real estate, it made a lot of money. I mean, one of my best deals was where I bought a property for 14, put I think about 30,000 into it, and profited over $139,000 in cash money in my pocket on that one. So real estate is a good investment, but you have to be ready for it. There's a lot of things that could come up. On that one property that I made that money on, one of the things that had happened on it was the garage. There was a person burning down garages in the neighborhood. Like, you don't even expect something like that to happen. And they happened to burn down my garage. And it was separated from the house. In this neighborhood, the garages are not attached to the houses, but it was a nice 3-car garage. We had redid it. House was all redone, it sided, new siding and everything. And the person burnt down several garages in the neighborhood, and they happened to burn down ours, and it melted the siding on the house on the backside and totally just tore up the garage, and it cracked the concrete. Because I would have made a lot more money on that deal if I didn't have to have that garage all the way rebuilt, and the concrete had to be redone because the heat from the fire cracked it. It's just unbelievable. But I remember even with that, when the insurance company came, they looked at me like, "Did you burn down the garage for insurance money?" And I was like, "Why would I want to do that when the damn house is under contract?" The house was under contract. We were just waiting on it to close. So what I ended up doing with that property is I ended up paying one of my workers that needed to make extra money with my other company, my marketing company. He wanted to be able to make some extra money. Apologize, I just had a phone call that I had to take for a sign permit on my building. I'll go into that in another video. That was even crazy, unbelievable. But so the insurance guy was like, thinking, but my insurance agent told me, the adjuster thinking that you burnt down the garage. I'm like, can you let this guy know that the house is under contract, that I'm just waiting on this house to close? It's already a done deal. Family's approved. We're just, waiting out the days for our turn to go into the closing. But I ended up getting one of my employees to sit there at night. He literally at night back there in the alley by the garage. So nothing would happen at this house until that house sold. But I would have made even more money than that on that deal. But we had to pay to get those repairs done. And it wasn't, the insurance company took care of most. Took care of the siding. They took care of even rebuilding the garage. But I had to take care of the concrete. They would not pay for all of the concrete, and that was it was a big 3-car garage, and so out of that I had to come out of my pocket an extra $10,000 to get that done. But the insurance did take care of the majority of everything, minus my deductible and that for the concrete. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please subscribe to my page. Please tell people about my YouTube page. I would, hopefully you can, get real life information from me. Something that makes me different than all of the other ones, or I won't say all of the other ones, but a lot of the other people that you see on here, is that the stuff that I'm talking about are things that I've done. It's not going to be theory. We deal with debt collectors. We deal with people's credit repairs. I got files, thousands of files of people, credit reports that we've looked through and that we've done. This isn't something where I'm just making these videos and throwing stuff off the top of my head. I see this. I see the pain that people go through when they're in these situations. I see the pain that people go through when they're dealing with debt collectors and they get emotional. I've went through it myself in the past. So I know from start to finish what you have to do to be successful in dealing with debt and debt collectors and credit repair. And then also on the other side of mindset, I know what you have to do to manipulate, which is not the best word to say, but you're actually doing that, especially if you're having a bad day. You have to manipulate your thinking to start thinking positive, or your day is just going to get worse, and then it's going to carry on over into the next day. And then the money-making advice, I own several companies, from retail to marketing online to marketing offline with a printed publication, to now going into healthcare, credit repair business, in other companies that and companies that I was either partnerships with that were not successful, and I'm going to be talking about those. So this is going to be a very valuable channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, because you're going to get a lot out of what I'm going to be teaching and sharing with you. All right, this is Stephen Williams with thecreditrepairshop.com. Thank you and have a great day.